listening to Tapped In, Buckham County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Hello, 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 and greetings to all that are listening to my voice. This is Tapped In, and I'm one of your hosts, ZaKiya Rogers.
And I'm Leonard Jones.
Leonard and I come to you from the Communications and Public Engagement Department of Buncombe County.
Today we will highlight how Buncombe County Safety and Justice Challenge is looking at ways to reduce the number of occurrences of individuals missing court appearances. Joining us today is Bolet with Justice Services and Eric Jackson from the city of Asheville, who will share more about this initiative and how the community can participate. Welcome, Nicholas and Eric.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just so that we get on the same page, can you briefly introduce yourselves and tell us what we'll be talking about? But we gotta first let our listeners know who they're listening to.
Hi there. So, like Leonard said, my name is Nicholas Bolet, and I work primarily with Justice Services. This is a grant-funded role that is funded by the Safety and Justice Challenge that you will learn more about later. And part of my role is operating the information kiosk in the front lobby of the courthouse. And in that role, I connect all visitors to different resources, both within the courthouse, but then within the community as well. And then I also promote the court reminder system that we have so that individuals know that there is a system that is there to support them throughout their court process.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry to add quickly that my employer is Goodwill Industries because it's grant funded, and so I'm also connected to the systems and resources of employees in there as well.
Wow, that is so important. That is so important. Eric?
Okay, Eric Jackson. I currently work with the city of Asheville. I'm run the data and performance program out of the finance department. But I'm also a member of the Community Engagement Work Group, which is one of the work groups in the Safety and Justice Challenge. And then, kind of like Nicholas, wear many different hats. So that we'll talk more about the Community Engagement Work Group. I'm also a member of a local volunteer organization called Code with Asheville that developed the court reminder system that and maintains the court reminder system that we're going to be talking about.
Okay, so I heard you mention the Buckham County Safety and Justice Challenge. Can you tell us what exactly is the Buckham County Safety?
So that is an effort that's been going on since 2018. It's funded by, make sure I get it right, the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. And the goal is to reduce the local jail population in a couple of ways by using equitable practices and increasing awareness about available services within the Justice Service Department, and also actively working to reduce the drivers of racial inequities in the criminal justice system in order to, again, reduce the population in the jail as well as the inequities.
So exactly what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what is the main goal of this initiative?
So really, you know, if somebody gets involved in the criminal justice system and goes to jail, that is costly in many, many ways. It's costly in terms of the resources that the community is financing through its taxes, but it's also costly for the people who are being incarcerated. Every day in jail has knock-on consequences that actually make it harder for people to kind of get back on track. And so we're really trying to address both sides of that. And the way we want to do that, it's not, you know, we're trying to find ways to make sure that people either don't end up in jail unnecessarily, or if they are in, to make sure that they have the resources to get through the system and get their lives back on track as quickly and as easily as possible.
Yeah, because that becomes a domino effect.
Absolutely.
If they're incarcerated, this affects their job. If they have a job, which affects their bills, which affects their housing, and if they have children, which affects their children, which may lead to social services getting involved. So it's just it can just become a volcano of issues.
Yep. And volcano or snowball. I'm not sure if we want to go hot or cold, but
And so I was just wondering, along with the challenge, what is some of the current data that's telling you about individuals who's not showing up for court appearances?
So one of the main drivers, and this is something that people don't necessarily know, you get a court date, and maybe it's because you were arrested and given a court date, or maybe you get one of those cards when you're stopped by the police for a traffic violation. If you forget to show up or ignore it or whatever reason you don't show up for court, the judge is going to issue an order for your arrest, and bam, you've just gotten a ticket into the jail. And that failure to appear, that's what it's called, FTA, or failure to appear, is one of the big drivers of people ending up in jail. And of course, everybody hates when you don't show up for court, the lawyers, the judges, and so it makes it harder to get out again. They're a little bit less inclined. And so one of the things we've been working really hard to do is just to reduce the number of people who are going to jail before they've been convicted of anything. These people are legally innocent, but we're trying to prevent them falling into that situation where they don't show up for court. Nationally, we know that the reasons for not showing up for court, there may be a tiny percentage that are actively fleeing, but mostly people forget. The big ones are people forget, they're faced with a life choice: lose your job and show up for court, or keep your job. You may be taking care of a family member, so that choice, you may make the choice not to show up. And I think this is important, even just the feeling intimidated. That's a scary place to walk into, and it's easy to fall into I'll just deal with that later.
Yeah, because it can be very unfamiliar to go through that process, and depending on even your age and lived experience, you don't know, how I show up in this space that seems very intimidating, as you mentioned.
And
so
if I could, sorry, to chime in as well. The idea is also people don't know that they have an FTA. So oftentimes what will happen, it's not like somebody notifies you that there's a failure to appear, and then there's now an issue for warrant for your arrest. Oftentimes what will happen is you don't know about it. So in the case of, let's say, backtracking, instead of forgetting, let's say you don't even know that court date exists. You don't know the court date exists. Now you don't know that there's an FTA, failure to appear. Now you don't know that there is now a warrant for your arrest. All of a sudden you're driving on the highway, you get pulled over, and you get arrested. Because unfortunately it is an order. For some cases, for law enforcement officers, they have some leeway. When it comes to FTAs and orders, they shall arrest this individual. For some instances, when it comes with misdemeanors, law enforcement officers have more discretion. But in the case of FTAs and orders for arrest, that discretion does not exist. And then the other thing is, with those life choices, when it comes to, I'm going to choose to go to work today versus going to court, that might have been because you forgot about it until the day of, and it's on your calendar, and you didn't tell your boss, and so you will get fired if you don't go. And so if you don't, you got fired from your job if you don't go. So you didn't have time to prepare. So we're trying to address that issue with the court reminder system, giving people time to prepare for that. And then the other thing is, you think, oh, I'm just gonna show up. The consequences won't be that bad. I'll just figure it out later, and then maybe you forget to figure it out later. Who knows? But yeah.
So you had mentioned a court reminder. So what exactly is the court reminder?
So that's it's really simple. If you've ever had a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, they know that you're likely to forget or decide you got better priorities than going and getting your teeth cleaned today. And so they will inundate you with text reminders on your phone. Well, this is exactly the same thing. We developed a system that anybody can sign up, and it's free. And I do want to point out that data is used. We get a phone number and who the reminder is for. Use it while there are court dates, and then throw that data away. It's not used for anything else.
And it is for Buncombe County specifically.
For Buncombe County specifically. But basically you sign up, and the system will text you twice before each court date, 7 days ahead and 2 days ahead. The first one, and this is based on research that says a mixture of warning people about the consequences and kind of helpful reminders is kind of the best way to approach these reminders. So the first one, I think it's the first one that says if you don't show up, you're likely to have an order for arrest issued, and then you'll be arrested and go to jail. And then the second is reminding you to make sure that you're thinking about transportation and childcare and getting time off work and so on. So it's just nothing more than a text message, a couple of text messages before every court date. And as your court dates change, the system automatically updates that information so that it's always tracking.
And Eric has worked with Code with Asheville, who designed the
Yeah.
programming for that,
Mhm.
and he also made it accessible in the sense of you have English, Spanish, or Russian.
Oh,
So you can
Yeah.
receive those reminders in whatever language you prefer.
So you say anyone can sign up. I just have a follow-up quick. What triggers you to sign up? Will it be, do I have to independently just, I got a ticket, I need to sign up, or is it another indicator that would be like, oh yeah, this is a available option for me?
So, well, if you don't know you have a court date, and therefore that's a different thing to work on, the court reminder system will not help with. But
Okay.
there's several places, and this is one of the most exciting things actually to me about this program. So this is a group of volunteers did this thing, we want to help. It doesn't do anything if the people in the court system and the jail aren't cooperating, and it's been a great story of all the parts of the system working together. So the first place you're likely to find out about it is when you're booked into jail. And as they're booking you in, they will give you the option to be signed up. And then Buncombe County, I believe Nico, will, once you're released, obviously we don't want to do it while you're in jail because you
Yeah.
probably don't have access to your phone.
No.
But, once you're out, then they'll sign you up.
But also family members and friends can also be signed up as well.
Yes,
Under
anybody
your
can sign
consent,
up.
of course.
The other places, so there are posters in the courthouse,
We
there
have
are
banners
little
in
cards.
the lobby, little cards as well.
In all the courtrooms. Buncombe County has been doing, I think through the end of this month, radio spots.
Yes.
And also there were, believe in December, or maybe it was November, there were billboards around. So and this is actually, maybe we'll get to the community engagement work group, but we are now starting to prepare to go out and visit neighborhood associations and community groups, just to spread the word, not only about the court reminder system, but also about some of the other services that are available.
And my turn. Do you all have a QR code as well?
Yes.
Because I'm wondering, like, if you can put them like at gas stations, it's like got court reminders. Would it nice? Because sometimes people, like you said, there are so many reasons why people do not show up to
Yeah.
court, and it's just important that we get this information out because education gets us more aware, and we want everybody to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. So that's great. I would love some of that information so we can pass out as well.
We will, and we actually, this was part of an email discussion, I think yesterday or the day before, just small poster things that we can put up all over the place
Yes.
with the QR code and, go ahead.
And my question was, in a process of signing out, is it like I call a number, or do I have to go online? What's the avenues for me to sign up if there's
You
something
go-
I'm interested in?
You go to a website, it's buncombenc.courtdates.org. And all you do is put in the name, it'll search, it'll bring up some options, you can do it on your phone. And you pick one and you put in a phone number and you're done.
Okay.
And I will say that there are some caveats to this, where in the sense of if there are minors involved in your case, that case may be protected in terms of public record. So you might know you have a case, but if there's something that's related to domestic violence or sexual assault or with children, that might not appear in the public database. So unfortunately, there are limitations that we're trying to work to work around them in the future. But just know that if you know you have a case and it's not in the system, does not mean that you do not have a case anymore. You still have a case.
Important.
It's just a matter of you can't receive the court reminder system because it's linked to the public database.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Is there like if someone doesn't have access to the computer, is it a number people can call?
We don't have that set up now.
Okay.
There are a couple of cases that I would love to work on. That's one, and another is just people who don't have phones.
Yeah.
But we're not there with those yet.
Okay, no problem.
I will say though that anybody who is worried about having a failure to appear or anything like that, or if they're wondering if they do have it in their record, you can if you speak to criminal records in any kind of courthouse setting, or even the district attorney's office. At least here in Buncombe County, it's the district attorney's office that's involved with rescheduling failures to appear up to a certain length of time. So if you wait too long, they might not be able to reschedule it, avoiding that order for arrest. But if you have a fear that you might have missed something, or you want to check on family members' criminal records, it's going to have that information. And then for rescheduling, it will be the district attorney's office.
And also, you had mentioned you were in the lobby of the courthouse, right?
Precisely.
Okay.
So as soon as you walk into the courthouse in Buncombe County here in downtown Asheville, you're going to go through security. And then you have on your right hand side an information kiosk, and it's purposely vague information kiosk because I'm the person that sits there and I kind of have to know everything that's happening in the courthouse, so you can just feel you can come to me.
Okay.
And one of the things that was done is the actual role itself of a court navigator is an outcropping of the Safety and Justice Challenge Community Engagement Work Group. And the idea was community members wanted a non-law enforcement figure to assist them, particularly because there can be so much, let's say, trauma associated with those kind of figures. Not to say that they're not helpful, because up until that point, it was the law enforcement officers and the cashiers in the lobby that were directing people. And they're very knowledgeable, very helpful. But having somebody who's designated roles to do that and making it very easy to approach that person was kind of a key motivator here for the role. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we know that we are Buckham County and Asheville, we are working diligently to make sure that everyone has language access. And so what type of things are you all doing? I know you all have the site in multiple languages, but like what about staff?
Oh, for example, I'm bilingual, so I'm coming from Miami, Florida. I'm Cuban American, and so I speak Spanish fluently. I was certified through the proper channels to be able to translate informally. Unfortunately, I'm not a court interpreter, so I cannot interpret legal anything in a courtroom setting. But when it comes to internally speaking in a courthouse, those same cashiers and those same officers did not speak the second language of Spanish, and so up until that point, there was always a struggle of a language barrier with those general visitors. But I've been able to mitigate that. I've been able to, everybody in the courthouse knows that if they have some kind of language issue with the general visitor, they can contact me, and if I'm available, I'll be able to go to that courthouse location and assist them with that need.
And even if it's even if it's not Spanish, so Spanish, there's Nico and others, but if you have another language, it is a normal part of the court process to bring in interpreters, and even I'm registered, also bilingual, in this case Russian.
Yes.
So I'm on the call list, and if I'm available, then I can come over and help.
I am always so impressed when folks know more than one language. It's just like, I'm like, how does your brain work? And thank you so much for your service. That is so important, because we want everyone in our community to feel welcome and feel like we are thinking of them. So that's very important.
Yeah, being very equitable to the residents that we serve here in Buckham County. We have mentioned this several times through the conversation you heard, Community Engagement Work Group. Can you share some more information on what this work group is? And
how can someone get involved if they decide?
Absolutely, that's one of the reasons we're here. We want to tell you about the Court Navigator and the Court Reminder System, but also, so this has been going on for a while. Several work groups, some of them are kind of more staff, and some of them are a mix of community and staff, are part of this overall effort to address some of the real issues that are leading to so many people ending up in jail. The Community Engagement Work Group has kind of two major things. One, we want to make sure that we're bringing in the voice of the community, so that very often both of these efforts came out of the community engagement work group. It was the community saying, we need somebody in the courthouse who can help us, who is not law enforcement, who is not part of the kind of the system that they're feeling caught up in.
And the grant facilitated that effort and that need.
Okay.
Yes. We're also, so it's both listening to the voice of the community in terms of what are the priorities, what are the things that are needed, what are, one of the other drivers of inequity in the jail is violence. And that was one where we can't solve that inside the system. And so the community engagement work group facilitated taking some of the money from the grant and getting it out into community organizations who can actually start working within the community to address some of those issues. And the other is to get information out, to make sure, so like I said, besides the radio spots and other things that are your department's efforts, Kate, we're also going to be going out and just showing up in the community and talking to people and sharing information, and that's another part. There are a couple of things. We are always looking for people to get involved. This is a fantastic way of having an impact on one of the really critical issues in our community for helping everyone thrive. Let's see, the easiest way to do is to contact Brent Bailey, who works at Justice Services. It's Brent, BRENT.BAILEY @buncombecounty.org by email, or you can call him at 828-250-6409. There are a number of ways to serve. We have the main community engagement work group. We also have smaller work groups. I co-lead one that is primarily about communications, and there are others as well. And for individuals who qualify, there are stipends available. Nico, maybe you can, I think you know more about that.
Yeah, the idea with the stipends is we want to incentivize this community kind of engagement. So, like Eric is saying, we want people to come in. So there's that, the doors are open for people to come in. And we understand that this is something you're doing outside of your work hours. We provide lunch. And so in these once a month meetings, you will attend, you will have lunch, and it will be a place for you to network and meet other community members who are interested in justice and fault initiatives. But then you also get that information. And so the idea is you can operate under whatever range of involvement that you desire. If it's just showing up to hear about it, receive the information, and take that back to community members, you can do that. But if you want to take it one step further and join some of the subcommittees and the subgroups, like communications, like the membership and governance committee, like the label is CIA, and it's information analysis is the IA part. So there's a variety of different ways you can get more involved. If you want to get more involved, you want to incentivize that. And so to do that, there's a number of individuals who can operate 10 hours a month to then get $35 per hour to do that kind of community work and be more integrated.
That is awesome, because I know we're trying to be more cognizant of folks' lives, and they are giving their time, and we're so quick to say volunteer, but all of us, everyone's not able to volunteer. You know, it takes a lot.
Has to be a give and take.
And the value, I think it's worth paying. This is important expertise that people are bringing, and
Precisely.
it's very valuable to us. And so that was an early priority for the community engagement work group, is to pay people for their time.
That is awesome. We have 6 minutes, and so I know it goes so quickly when the conversation is good. And so all our conversations have been good. I want to make sure that we get that out there. But at this part, I always ask our guests what is the one thing that you want our listeners to know, and we will have you back because there's so much more that we need to explore. But what is one thing that you want our listeners to have with them?
If I could chime in first, if your biggest fear, and I said this earlier, if your biggest fear is a failure to appear, this is a main driver in all of this, you have options. You can go to the district attorney's office and you can reschedule it if you know it's something that happened to you. You can contact the criminal records, or you can come to criminal records and do that as well. But also the Justice Resource Center on the 14th floor of the courthouse is available for case management. So the idea is you can come visit us and you can explain your context, and we can see if you're eligible for any of our programs. And even if you're not, we can recommend you to different communities and different individuals. And so I want anybody to know who's listening that if you have any level of fear when it comes to the court system or a courthouse in general, the options are there. If you're willing to communicate with us, communicate with myself, communicate to whoever you feel comfortable, we can take you to the right place. You're never without any options.
Yes.
And I think I'd build on that, and that is the most important thing, is that nothing is going to make getting involved in the criminal justice system a pleasant experience. But there are a lot of resources available, and there are a lot of people working within the system who are very dedicated to making sure that those resources get to the people who need them. So know that. Know that you can walk into the courthouse and talk with Nico. You can reach out, go to the 14th floor and go to the Justice Services and get help there. And also just know that the buncombenc.courtdates.org is a resource that you can use, your family can use, anybody who is either involved in the system or knows somebody and wants to support somebody who's involved. And then the other is, if you want to go that extra step and join us in helping kind of address some of these challenges for folks, please reach out to Brent Bailey, 828-250-6409. We would love to have you as part of the effort.
And my closing marks today is also it's been a lot of information we shared. So if you have a court date coming up, we strongly encourage you to sign up for these court reminders. And if you have a family, friend, or loved one that you want to help support and make sure they are prepared and ready and don't fall victim of any kind of consequences for missing court, we strongly encourage you to sign up for these court reminders. As well, I would just echo the same thing. If you heard about the community engagement work group that's trying to correct some of the issues and help mitigate some of the barriers we have with the justice system, we really want to hear from community. So again, if you're an individual and you're interested in joining this community engagement work group, again, that contact is Brent Bailey, and that's Brent BRENT.Bailey BAILEY at buncombecounty.org. And that phone number for Mr. Bailey is 828-250-6409.
And thank you all. That was Professor Jones giving us our information. I'm going to close this like I always do. A lot of times we forget. It is so many things on our plate today in this very chaotic world. And we at Buckham County and Asheville City, we want to make sure that our communities are able to have access. So with this want from us, we are coming up with ideas, but we can't do this without your feedback. So I want you all to always look at both web pages and make sure that you're up to date on everything that's going on. It is about accessing the information that's around you. And you can't do that if you're not looking and being attentive to what is being presented. I challenge all of you all, as we know the Chinese New Year is coming up, but I challenge all of you all to make a new resolution for the Chinese New Year to get more activated with your community and your county. So that is my seed I'm planting, Leonard. So until next time, you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.